a postseason edition unlike any other. That's right, Locked On Astros. We're going to break down the playoff series still in action, the former Astros contributing, and the first ever You Be the GM. Let's go right now.
Jainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Greg H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
Welcome into this edition of Locked On Astros. You know me, I'm Htown Wheelhouse. You know where to find me at Htown Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Find me Astros for 1-1 on X and on Facebook, and at Back to the Bullpen on X, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on iHeartRadio. I'm always positive, always Stros. And I may hope that both teams lose, but I digress. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Now you can get big returns on the NFL season. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Thank you guys for joining me. This is a different edition, a special edition. I'm sitting down in the early hours of the morning to record this. And I want to talk about, we're actually going to go backwards from what I mentioned in the intro. And I want to kind of introduce our You Be the GM segment. Why? Because we want to know what you guys think. And I simply chose, I think it was one of the first ones submitted and it had the most likes. So I'm going ahead and going to throw this up there. And then later on, I'll get to the Tigers are still winning and former Astros pitcher Ryne Stanek and Yuli Gurriel, and what did he do yesterday in the game despite the Royals losing and falling to the Yankees. Look, the ALDS and the NLDS has been exciting. We all know that it would be way better. The Houston Astros were playing, but they're not. And I think sometimes the blessing is in the curse. And I think that maybe this loss, this early round exit, can benefit the Astros in a few different ways. And I'll kind of break that down as we go throughout the offseason. I don't want to show my whole hand there. But again, thank you for tuning in. So let's get to this segment. And here is our first entry, our first submission. This is from Samuel Barrett. He says, first of all, I would make orange the primary accent color of the uniforms. Orange is unique and should be utilized by the Astros more. Take some inspiration from the 1971 uniform and go from there. After that, re-sign Bregman and Tucker. In other words, you would re-sign Bregman. In this point, you would extend Tucker, then wrap all the pitchers in bubble wrap until opening day. But seriously, this right here is one that I thought was unique. And I like the bubble wrap thing. Basically, what Samuel is saying is get healthy, get no one else hurt. And we can't deny the fact that injuries played a part in the struggles in the first half. But even with the pitchers' injuries, it was, to me, always the struggle that the batters had at the plate. We would be top 3 in all these different offensive categories, but 10th or 11th or 15th with runners on base, runners in scoring position. And the bottom line is getting guys on base was not the problem. It was bringing them home. And that is something you can't blame on the pitcher himself or the pitching staff being injured, because it didn't have anything to do with that. It had to do with just not being able to perform. And so I believe this next one kind of encapsulates that and talks more about signing people right here. Let Bregman walk, which I think is going to be a tough thing. Trade Fromber for a haul, get younger, re-sign Kikuchi, no longer than 3 years, extend Tucker, and let JV walk. Now, I would say this. I'm going to add in there, I think we need new blood. I think we need other pitching coaches. And I just don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know how much or how little blame goes on the hitting coaches, but if the hitting coaches are there to help the players perform, and if they're not performing at the level that they need to be performing, then you can certainly make an argument for the Astros needing to shift things around a little bit. And I think Aaron Westlake, the hitting coach for the Sugarland Space Cowboys, really should be the top candidate to take over hitting. Now, everybody keeps mentioning bringing back Uncle Mike. Well, Uncle Mike's retired. Michael Brantley's retired. So you'd have to pull him out of retirement and pull him away from his family. And I just don't know if that's what he wants. I don't know if that's what he wants to do. And Centrone's been here a while. Sometimes you need new blood. Sometimes you need a new look, a fresh perspective. And I don't know if that's Snitker and Centrone or one of the other, like one or the other, to have to maybe be told that, hey, we don't need your services anymore. And again, maybe it's not the hitting coaches. I just think that whenever things happen, early exits happen in the playoffs, or let's say the Astros don't even make the playoffs, then somebody has got to take the fall for the downfall. Now, I don't think they've completely fallen off the cliff. I think they can still be very competitive next year. And their goal, as Dana Brown said in his season-ending press conference the day after they lost, was we want to get back to the World Series. That's our goal. So I think it's imperative that they re-sign Yusei Kikuchi. They were 9-1 in his starts. He didn't get a chance to contribute in the postseason. I think he probably, looking back on it now, should have been the game one starter. I mean, he's been your guy. Of course, I know Fromber's been hot. I know Hunter Brown's been hot, but Fromber in his last 4 starts prior to his game one start and mini meltdowns, he only gave up 3 runs. That's more on the offense. Had given up 3 runs or more in his 4 previous playoff starts each. And so who knows? Maybe you flip the script. Maybe things are different and the Astros are playing the Guardians. But we can always look back and say should have, would have, could have. But the bottom line is they didn't. And we'll talk about the Tigers later on because they continue to move on. We'll talk about that here next. But I want y'all's suggestions to just keep rolling in, and we're going to pick the best ones. We're going to pick the ones that are just insane. Like, you have the biggest ask. You're going to get rid of the most players, kind of the wildest takes, and we're going to talk about that as well. In our next segment, I want to talk to y'all about the Tigers continuing to roll, which I know it's frustrating, and I know some of y'all are actually rooting for them since they beat the Astros. We'll talk about it next. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to PrizePicks today, download the app, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. Look, PrizePicks, I can tell you, is a fun, interactive app. You can now win 100 times your money with PrizePicks with as little as 4 picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get in the action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks is the only real money daily platform for fantasy sports with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. So sign up today for $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions and can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select players' projections up to 25%. even more value for your lineups. That's right. Just think about Justin Jefferson will get more than 83.5 yards next week. Christian McCaffrey more than 75.5 yards. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money. So check it out today. You need to use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly when you play $5. PrizePicks, run your game. Again, thank y'all for tuning in to Locked On Astros. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. You know where to find me. You know where to find the show. Look, if I were you, check out Locked On Tigers. Check out Locked On Mets. Check out Locked On Royals. Check out Locked On Dodgers. They're still in the mix. Locked On Padres. All these shows, Locked On Guardians. Any team that's still in the playoffs, go check out those shows. Go listen to those hosts. They do a phenomenal job, and we'll get to the Mets here in a second. But Scott Bentley from Locked On Tigers came on and joined us, and I know that dude is just on cloud 9 right now. And make sure you make Locked On MLB your second listen. Check out Sully or Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call him Sully at Locked On MLB. He breaks down all the playoff series. He's in baseball encyclopedia. But let's talk about the Tigers winning. I honestly thought that I know going back to Detroit, you like the home team in playoff series, but I just thought the Guardians were going to take care of business in this last game, where now Detroit is 2-1 they're up 2-1 on the series. They have just continued this miraculous run. And it's just like, wow, but the Guardians have gone now 20 innings without scoring a run. 20 full innings in the postseason without scoring. It is insane what the Tigers are continuing to do. Their scoreless streak is one that's really kind of just this odd thing that you don't expect this to be the Guardians, okay? But here's the deal. The Tigers are going to unleash another round of pitching chaos, okay? They are going to go with the bullpen in game 4 rather than Tarek Skubal. So there really isn't any excuse for them to change what they're doing. AJ Hinch continues to make moves that are just like, wow, oh my gosh. And Hinch used 6 pitchers ranging from 3.5 innings to 1/3 of an inning. And they blanked the Guardians hitters. They won 8-0 in this game. And again, they call it pitching chaos. And I mean, that's a very tough thing to counter. It seems like this is the X factor. Now, I would say this, that if Rob Manfred has his way, he's got the Manfred man rule and all this stuff, it begs a question, will Manfred be more encouraged or less encouraged to go at the 6-inning minimum for a starter? Because if they do that, then games like this, series like this, will be non-existent in Major League Baseball. So what AJ Hinch and the Tigers are doing may not be maybe short-lived going down the road. Now, I have no idea what the Tigers are going to do in the offseason, but you got to tip your hat to them. AJ Hinch pushing all the right buttons. AJ Hinch is remembered a lot for 2017, tied to the scandal, but he's also remembered a lot for 2019 and not bringing in Garrett Cole. And so now AJ Hinch is pushing all the right buttons. And everyone's like, see, I wish we had AJ Hinch back. But what's funny is when he left, they're like, that was the worst managerial decision ever and blah, 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 and all this stuff. So it's what have you done for me lately kind of syndrome. And we have a recency bias. But right now, the Tigers are on the brink of winning this series and going to the ALCS, a run that I didn't see probable. Now, with that being said, just because you win game 3 doesn't necessarily mean you win the ALDS. but it does 73% of the time. So 73% of the teams that actually win game 3 that are up 2-1 go on to win the next game. Well, we have series or we have playoff chaos going all over the place. But what former pitcher with the Mets is doing big things? None other than Ryne Stanek. I mean, I love that he's in the playoffs having success. Yes, I would much rather the Astros be in the playoffs and having success. But if we're not, got to find someone to cheer for. Even though, like I said, I got the shirt. I hope both teams lose. But man, Ryne Stanek came out, and this guy was he's been really good. He's had kind of an up and down year. And it wasn't this game where the Mets clinched. It was the game before. And he was the final out. The Mets were up by 5 runs, but nonetheless, Stanek pitched 1 1/3 innings, got a strikeout for the final out, and he's got a 2.08 ERA right now in the playoffs. So he's doing a solid job. And the Mets took care of the Phillies last night. And it was a Francisco Lindor grand slam that shut the door. And they're calling them the Amazing Mets. They're tagging on to the 1969 World Champion Mets and calling this team a miracle team. I mean, could you see the most unlikely World Series, the Mets versus the Tigers? That would be absolutely, MLB would lose their mind. Because I mentioned on the show last time that Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, their rivalry with the Padres, because of that series alone and other series and other big star names, I believe viewing's up 41%. I think a majority of that's because of Ohtani. Now, the Dodgers survived. I really thought that the Dodgers might lose in San Diego and San Diego might clinch, but they're going back to a game 5. And so we just have playoff chaos all around, but it's great to see Ryne Stanek in there having success, moving on, a great guy. He was a friend of the show. You remember he came on, I believe, 3 times on Locked On Astros, and he's just one of the nicest human beings, one of the good dudes. You know, I know he didn't have a ton of success before he left the Astros. I know he had his ups and downs in Seattle. He struggled a little bit. When he first got to the Mets, I think his first inning, he gave up like a home run. The first inning he pitched for the New York Mets. And New York's a tough place to pitch. But Ryne Stanek is a guy that I will always root for because of the kind of person he is and what he meant to this city when he was here in Houston. Part of that, amazing bullpen, has the single season record for lowest ERA by a relief pitcher. I believe it was 1.15? I don't have that right in front of me, but next I want to talk about our old friend Yuli Gurriel. I want to talk about the Yankees and the Royals. Yes, I know it pains me to say the term Yankees. It makes me kind of sick to my stomach, but look, some good baseball to talk about. So we'll talk about that next. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Go to Booking.com today. Go to the website or get the app, Booking.com, Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today at Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Explore U.S. cities that you've always secretly wanted to just hang out in. We know you want to go to a bed and breakfast in Boston or L.A. or a vacation rental in Chicago. Just all over the U.S. and during postseason, you can check out whatever city you want. And if the playoffs are in and the team is playing, you can even probably get a hotel that overlooks the stadium. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that? Because Booking.com has the best place to go to book, the best places to book. And no matter what team you're rooting for, you can become a fan of any city, from hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts and so much more. Booking.com has the right U.S. stays for you. That's right. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city. Booking.com, booking.yeah. FanDuel.com is a place you need to go for all your sports book needs. It's America's #1 sports book. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with the big return on FanDuel. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You don't have to go to another site, click to another channel, go to the four-letter networks, and look, it's all right there in the palm of your hand. You just look it up, boom, boom, boom. It's there. Oh, look, Justin Jefferson. Oh, look, CJ Stroud. Oh, look, I mean, it doesn't matter. The sky's the limit. So you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's right. I didn't make that up. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. FanDuel, there's a reason why it's America's #1 sports book. Check it out today. All right, everybody. Thank y'all for hanging in there. Thank y'all for tuning in. I know this is an early morning edition. If you're listening, you got this before 8 a.m. I wish it could have got out sooner. If you're watching this and you're watching it on the premiere at 9:30 in the morning on Thursday, hey, thank you for tuning in. And I want to take a second to say, I know, look, I know sometimes words are trivial, and these days you got to be careful with what you say, and especially when it comes to natural disasters. But we know that we just got hit with a major storm here in the U.S. Before the current storm that is bearing down on the Florida coast. And these hurricanes wreak havoc on communities. We know this firsthand in Houston. So my thoughts and my prayers go out to everybody in Florida, everybody that is in the path of this storm. You know, Hurricane Helene was just wreaked havoc in Florida and in the Carolinas. We know Hurricane Milton, that's the one that's headed to Florida. And I don't know as I speak exactly what's going on, but the storm surge alone. So we're definitely praying for those of y'all that have, I know I have family that I think they're out of the cone of where the storm is actually going through, but the band's far reach beyond that cone. So praying for my family. I reached out to a couple friends, wasn't able to get a hold of them. I'm assuming that they got out of there before the storm hit, but just our thoughts and prayers go out to y'all. And I know a lot of times people say, oh, thoughts and prayers don't do anything, but it means something to us, and you guys are important to us. So thank y'all so much for being everydayers, and from Locked On Astros to everyone affected in the recent weeks. We really hope and pray that the provision is there for you and that you get the help that you need in order to rebuild if that's the unfortunate situation you're in. So I just really, I had to mention that because at the end of the day, things of baseball, it's all trivial when it comes to real life, when it comes to us being just people. So again, thank y'all for tuning in. And I don't expect people that are in the path of the storm lose power to really keep up with our show while things are down. But if you do find this after the fact, just know that we have been there with you with our thoughts and prayers on a daily basis. So Yuli Gurriel is now with the Kansas City Royals. And yesterday, he nearly missed a home run in the early parts of the game. And I was so bummed when I saw that Yuli Gurriel did not hit the home run, because I was watching it. I was like, oh man, he hit a double, but he got his 91st playoff hit, and he moved up in the playoff ranks for hits in the postseason. I think he moved past George Springer. And this was a tight game for a while. It was 2-2 going into the 8th inning. And I'm sorry, a rare late inning home run by Giancarlo Stanton in the playoffs was the lone decider. The Royals had 6 hits to the Yankees 4 hits, but the Yankees topped the Royals 3-2. And for me, I was really hoping that the Royals would be up 2-1 and they could go into the game in Kansas City and they could win that game and defeat the Yankees. Because any day the Yankees lose or the Dodgers lose, America wins. I'm joking, but I'm not. That's a Houston perspective there. You saw Bobby Witt is finally starting to get a couple hits here and there. But I mean, look, Stanton, you got to give him credit. He's not a guy that we root for. He's not a guy that I cheer for, but he was 3 for 5 yesterday, a double, a home run, and 2 RBI. I mean, you can't argue with that. So it was an interesting game. The Royals now have their backs against the wall. The Royals now have to win the next 2 games. And that's typically, again, like I said, the team that wins game 3 wins, I believe, 73% of the series, because it's hard in a 5-game series to win 2 in a row. That's why, the schedule is what it is. It's better than a 3-game, but it looks like the Royals have their backs against the wall. And to see Yuli Gurriel have some success in the playoffs is kind of fun. It always makes everybody wonder, what if we would have signed Yuli Gurriel and let him play first with John Singleton? How would that have gone? Well, I don't know. I know when he was here, he looked like he was really worn out. It looked like age was getting to him, but he's kind of had this rejuvenation. He's been reinvigorated with life, and good for Yuli Gurriel. I think he'll always be a fan favorite here in Houston. Now, the series that has had the most contentious back and forth, I think it's probably the biggest rivalry, is the Padres and the Dodgers. We all know what we think about the Dodgers. We all know that this is one of those series where you say, I hope both teams lose. But I would much rather the Dodgers go home than the Padres. And I didn't see this happening, what happened yesterday. Now, they went with Dylan Cease on short rest to come in and pitch this game, which I wonder if, he only went 1 2/3 innings. It was he was like an opener. And the Padres used 2, 4, 6. They used 7 pitchers yesterday. They used 7 pitchers. Well, heck, the Dodgers did the same thing. This was a bullpen game all around, it seemed like. They were just using pitcher after pitcher after pitcher. And what do you know? The Dodgers scored in the first 3 innings. They had 5 runs. It was 5-0. Then it was 8-0 in the 7th inning. And the Padres didn't really have a chance. They got 7 hits, but they just could not do anything. Ohtani was 1 for 3. He had a single. He hasn't been the beast that they wanted him to be. He did hit a home run in his first playoff game, which the Dodgers won. But, this is a series that I think if the Padres can pull things out, they go back to LA. Okay. They go back to LA. I really think the Padres can find a way to win this game. If you go back and look at game 1 in LA, 7-5, it was a slugfest. Then game 2 in LA, the Padres just pile drived the Dodgers 10-2 with Darvish on the mound. And then the Padres came back and won 6-5 versus the Dodgers. You're like, okay, the Padres are going to definitely move on. And then what do you know? They get blanked. I think this team going back to LA, the Padres, they really could have a real chance at upsetting the Dodgers. And whoa, what an expensive early playoff exit that would be. And Ohtani not going on in a playoff series will send reverberations throughout Major League Baseball. And look, wraps up my time here with Locked On Astros today. Thank y'all for tuning in. Eric and I will be back. I believe the next person we're going to focus on and look at is Alex Bregman and his standing with the team, what it would mean to keep him, what it would mean to lose him. And is there anybody out there that can replace Alex Bregman? Man, I don't know. But it has been a blast hanging out with y'all all season long. We're here all off season. We're not going anywhere. Again, for our friends in Florida in any area impacted by the storm, our thoughts and prayers go out to you. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Astros. Remember, we're your team every single day. Go Stros.